It has taken nearly 6 years of talks, but today Germany is for the first time acknowledging that it committed genocide during its colonial rule in what is now Namibia in southern Africa. German troops massacred tens of thousands of Herero and Nama people between 1904 and 1908. Now, more than 100 years later, it has reached a deal with the government of Namibia on how to atone for the atrocities. For more, let's cross live to DW correspondent Emmanuel Schaz. Emmanuel, Germany's official recognition of genocide in Namibia comes after years of negotiations. Tell us more about the government's decision.
Yes, Terry, you said it. This is a long-awaited decision by the German government taken after almost 6 years of negotiations with the government of Namibia. German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas said that it was the historical and moral responsibility of Germany to acknowledge the colonial atrocities and to acknowledge these massacres perpetrated during the German colonial time as the genocide. It was the German colonial empire span from 1884 to 1915, and here in Germany and perhaps in Europe most so, well, little was known about this part of German history, about the colonial history, and this is highly symbolic that today Germany acknowledges this genocide.
Well, it is one of the longest ongoing debates in recent German history. Coming to terms with this dark chapter has been very difficult indeed. Let's take a closer look.
Between 1904 and 1908, German imperial forces in what was then known as German Southwest Africa violently suppressed uprisings by the Nama and Herero ethnic groups and forced them into the desert. Tens of thousands of Herero and Nama were shot, starved and tortured to death by German troops. It is estimated that 3/4 of the Herero and half of the Nama people were wiped out. It took an entire century for a German politician to even recognize it happened.
I ask you to forgive us our trespasses and our guilt.
But the German government of the time backpedaled, saying the minister had spoken as a private person. Herero and Nama groups have consistently demanded an official apology and financial reparations from the German government for what historians consider the 20th century's first genocide. But it was not until 2015 that the German government used the word genocide in connection with the killings. And Germany has insisted in negotiating a reconciliation deal with the Namibian government, not the victims' descendants. To this day, this small plaque in Berlin's Neukölln district remains the only visible memorial of the atrocities committed against the Herero and Nama. Germany is just beginning to reckon with its colonial past, but this reconciliation deal is one step in that direction.
Emma, in addition to recognizing Germany's colonial-era crimes as in Namibia as genocide, the government has also agreed to provide financial support. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, that's a very interesting point in Foreign Minister Heiko Maas's declaration. He said that this financial support would come as a gesture to recognize the immense suffering inflicted on the victims, but it falls short of being what the Herero and Nama communities themselves wanted, which was a compensation. And for those communities, so those haven't negotiated with the German government. This was a negotiations between two governments, where for the descendants of the Herero and Nama communities, well, their suffering is invaluable, and they wanted symbolically a compensation and not just financial support. Well, this gesture, as Heiko Maas calls it, will amount to 1.1 billion euros. That's around $1.34 billion, and this will be used to help rebuilding and developing Namibia.
Well, of course, there's much more to Germany's colonial legacy. There are collections of looted art and even body parts in German museums. How are those things being dealt with?
Well, this is still subject to debate. The German government over time, and especially during the past years, have been doing symbolic gestures of restitutions of looted art, for example. But also a little known fact about German history is that there are thousands of body parts of skulls that are being kept in basements of universities, of research institutes, of libraries, and they used to come from those massacres. They arrived in Germany more than a century ago, and again, the Herero and Nama communities actually would like to see those body parts also returned to the land of their ancestors, so they could be given proper burial, and that's still something that is being problematic between Germany and Namibian communities that are the first affected.
Emma, thank you very much. That was DW correspondent Emmanuel Schaz.